Thank you. Can you folks hear me out there? All right, plenty of seats at the front tables if you can't, so just move on up. We're going to go ahead and call the Morgan County Board of Zoning Appeals meeting for March 24th, 2025 to order. We do have a quorum this evening with 4 members present. At this time, we'll ask Board Member Mr. Rumball to lead us all in the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, Mr. Rumball. Gentlemen, copy of the minutes from our last meeting were sent out to us. Everybody have a chance to review those? If so, were there any changes or corrections, additions, or deletions that need to be made to those minutes?
Move to
All right, open for a motion to approve.
approve as sent.
Thank you. Do I have a second to that motion? Thank you. All in favor, please raise your right hand. Say aye.
Aye.
Aye. The minutes are approved. Also, gentlemen, we received a copy of the agenda in advance of the meeting. Are there any changes to the agenda this evening? Thank you. Have a motion to approve the agenda. Do I have a second to that motion? Thank you. Motion and a second. All in favor, please raise your right hand. Say aye.
Aye.
Aye. The agenda is approved. At this time, we'll ask Mr. Peden, the board's attorney, to swear in everybody who's going to be speaking tonight. Thank you, Mr. Peden. All right, folks, as we get going this evening, if you've never been here before, let me go through a couple things with you, just maybe some housekeeping issues. This is a great time to turn off your phone if you haven't already done so, or at least put it on silent. What happens is we're going to call the applicant up first. The applicant's going to come up to the podium, and they're going to address the board. And we ask that the applicant or whoever's speaking face the board, speak into the microphone. We want to capture everything that's being said on recording. The applicant gets a chance to present what they want to do, and they're going to be asked to tell the board why they are requesting whatever it is that they're requesting in front of us tonight. We don't interrupt anybody while they're speaking. If you do, I'll ask you to leave. Fair enough? All right. Then we'll give anybody else a chance to speak. If somebody else is here to support the applicant, they'll get a chance to get up and speak. If somebody's here in opposition to an application, they'll get a chance to stand up and address the board as well. And again, the key of that is address the board. Not turn around and talk to your friends and neighbors that are here, but we want to hear what it is you have to say, that you've taken the time and the effort to get here. We want to make sure that you're heard and that we understand what your concerns are, if any. We'll start out the meeting this evening under new business with public hearing D-25-03. Linda Fuller is requesting a development standard variance to locate a septic system on the lot adjacent to the primary dwelling. The property is located at 2645 and 2651 South Gale Drive in St. John's Commons subdivision in Jackson Township and is zoned R1. And for this application this evening, I have Linda Fuller signed up as the applicant, and I have no one else signed up to speak on behalf of this application. So, Linda Fuller.
Yes, sir.
If you could start out, and this goes for everyone, by giving us your name and address, and then in your case, tell us what you're wanting to do and why we should approve this.
Sure.
Can you pull that mic down a little bit toward you?
Better?
There we go. Thank you.
Okay. Hi, I'm Linda Fuller. My current address is 2775 Double Eagle Drive in Beaver Creek, Ohio, actually. But I have bought 2 lots in St. John's Common subdivision. And what I'm here for is asking for approval for a standard variance so that I can install a septic tank between the 2 properties. I have Lot 10, which will hold the house, and Lot 11 will include the septic tank, but I need approvals for that. Any other questions, or do I need to cover anything? I mean, it's pretty straightforward. Septic tanks are common in that subdivision. I'm going to keep the Lot 11 wooded other than the septic tank.
Thank you. Gentlemen, any questions for the applicant this evening?
I have none.
Ms. Fuller, there's a note in here from the county surveyor that states that there's a 10-foot wide drainage and utility easement per the plat of St. John's Commons, and asking that the owner verify that no utilities have been placed within the easement. Do you know if that's the case?
I don't know, but, I mean, we haven't done any work there yet, so any of the connections or anything, or at the road.
All right, so if this is approved this evening, before you do any construction, you'll need to do some research, find out where the easements are, and make sure that you don't encroach on those easements.
Okay.
All right.
That won't be difficult.
Yeah, I was going to say, the health department and everything's been out there, and they've told me where to put the septic tank, so. This is
Well,
just,
they're going to be telling you based on their expertise with septic tank
Right.
placement. What they don't know is where the easements may exist.
yeah,
That responsibility falls to you as the property owner
yeah,
for that.
sure.
All right. Gentlemen, any questions?
No.
No? Thank you very much.
Thank you.
All right, again, we have no one else signed up to speak on behalf of or in opposition to this application. So at this point, we'll end the portion of the meeting where we take testimony. And the board is deciding here this evening that whether or not to approve this variance. And in order to do so, we have to agree that the applicant has met, in this case, 3 findings of facts. In the first finding of fact, under 2.1, the statement is that the approval will not be injurious to the public health, safety, morals, and general welfare of the community. The applicant indicates that's a true statement and states that because septic systems are commonplace in this subdivision. Under section 2.2, the statement is the use and value of the area adjacent to the property included in the variance will not be affected in a substantially adverse manner. The applicant again indicates that's a true statement, and to support that writes lot 11 to remain wooded and the septic system will not be visible to nearby neighbors. And under 2.3, the statement is the strict application of the terms of the ordinance will result in practical difficulties in the use of the property. Again, the applicant indicates that's a true statement, and support that states that the applicant has stated that the strict application of the terms of the ordinance will result in practical difficulties in the use of the property because we can't get both a septic system and a house all on lot number 10. The health department states they have no objections to the proposed variance. I've already read the comments from the surveyor, and staff supports the variance request, noting that they believe the applicant has met all 3 findings of facts. So at this time, gentlemen, we're open for discussion on this application.
I'm real familiar with that area, and it sounds like a good idea to allow her to do this.
Any other discussion, gentlemen? No. This is a common request. Where's Ms. Fuller? There we go. Thank you. Common request that we get for lot owners such as yourself on that. And I would support this as well. Any other discussion? Open for a motion.
I'd like to move to approve D-25-03.
Based on?
Based on the finding of facts.
Thank you. I have a motion to approve. Do I have a second to that motion? Thank you. Motion and a second. It's been made. All in favor, please raise your right hand and say aye.
Aye.
It is approved. Thank you very much, Ms. Fuller. You don't have to stay. You're more than welcome to if you'd like to. All right. Well, have a safe drive back home.
And I did check with the builder while we were.
We're done, ma'am.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, our next item under new business is public hearing SE-25-01. Charles Dean Collier is requesting a special exception use to operate a firearms training facility on his property located at 5600 Herbmont Road in Gregg Township, and the property is zoned for ag. For this application, I do have 3 folks signed up in support of. It looks like 5 folks. 15 folks signed up in opposition too. So we are going to impose a time limit on everyone except the applicant. And that's standard in how we do business here when we have those many folks signed up to speak. So the applicant's going to be able to present his argument, tell the board why he wants the variance and why we should approve that. Then we'll call up supporters, and we're going to allow each supporter 3 minutes to speak. Then we're going to call up those that are opposed, and I understand that at least some of the group has retained counsel that's here this evening. Is that correct? And is it Kesnick? Kesnick. Folks, I'll butcher your names, and some of it I'm going to lay to you for your poor handwriting. You should have paid more attention in school for that. Mr. Kesnick, I can't throw that one on you. But we're going to limit you to 3 minutes each. Mr. Kesnick, I'll give you 10 minutes to speak, which is standard what we do when somebody has retained counsel to represent them in these hearings. If you are redundant and repeating things that have already been said or getting way off topic, I am going to stop you and your time is then up. So if you can't agree to that and abide by that, you might as well leave now, because that's the way we're going to do it here this evening. And that's consistent with how we do all of our hearings when we have a large gathering, either in support of or in opposition to an application. Once we're done hearing everyone, then we always give the applicant a few minutes to come back up and possibly address any concerns that they may have heard, make any additional statement. At that time, we'll end all testimony. I'll read through the findings of facts. The board will have discussion, and we will call for a motion, and if a motion's made, we'll vote on that motion. So any questions, raise your hand. All right. Dean Collier, if you could step up to the microphone, start out by giving us your name and address, explain to the board what it is you'd like to do and why we should approve your request for a special exception.
Well, good evening, board members. Thank you for letting me speak for you tonight. My name is Dean Collier, and I live at 5600 Herbmont Road, Martinsville, Indiana. My wife and I purchased this property last fall. We actually moved in mid to late October. I was born and raised on a farm here in Morgan County. As a matter of fact, I used to live not too far from your family. Lived there up there on Yale Road. Sorry, Mr. Crone, I apologize for calling you out or just reference. But born and raised on a farm, been around animals my whole life. joined the military right out of high school. I've been prior military, prior law enforcement, prior bodyguard, prior federal employee. Been there, done that a lot with firearms, and I've always been very firearms oriented in a safe manner. As a matter of fact, I took my first hunter safety course when I was about 15 through 4-H right here in Martinsville at the old REMC building that was there on the 39 bypass. And I've been either teaching or instructing in some form or fashion pretty much ever since. This is actually a big passion of mine because I know what it takes to be confident, competent, and capable while still being safe if you're handling firearms. I became an FFL, which is a federal firearms license dealer, about 3 years ago. And what prompted that was I was at a gun shop in a neighboring county, going in looking just to see what was in, and I had just became an instructor for the USCCA, United States Concealed Carry Association. So I am an instructor for them. And while I was in there, an old elderly lady, probably in her late 70s, came in with a friend wanting to find something because her husband had just passed and wanted something to protect herself. And while I was talking with her, she was leaning toward a certain gun. The gun owner, or the gun shop owner, came over, completely dismissed everything that I said, and tried to talk her into holding and buying a Smith & Wesson 357 that she couldn't even pick up. And it really hurt my heart because that's not what it's about. Being safe and being an instructor on that kind of stuff, you try to make sure if you're going to be handling a firearm, you can comfortably and safely handle it without damage to yourself or being unsafe around anybody else. And that was literally when I decided to go ahead and pursue the course of having a firearms range that I could teach for. And I have taught several classes since then. The reason why we're trying to do this here is I have the facility where the property is, right here, and you can't really see it very well, but I have enough of an area at one of my pole barns to be able to have a sit-down area where I can have students. My classes consist of no more than 6 students at a time. That way it allows for me to instruct. I have 6 students, and I have 2 assistants with me, one for a range safety officer and one as an assistant to do as is needed for assistance with the class students. What we're trying to do is I want to build a backstop at the northeast, the top left portion of my property. And I've got the quote that came back in from my contractor because I wasn't prepared that it was going to be quite this extensive to explain this out. We were informed Friday that we had pretty significant opposition and they had retained a counsel, and that's perfectly fine, but I didn't have time to prepare against it. But the reality is, all we're really wanting to do is build on our property a backstop so that I can teach handgun safety classes. Oh, I'll hurt myself with that. All right, let's see if I can get this thing to work. Okay, so right in that area is where we're wanting to build the backstop. Right in there, where that curve goes around like that, right in that area is where we're wanting to put it. And the dimensions of this backstop are going to be, and I've actually, maybe you guys have got it, I'm not sure what actually went in that package. The backstop is intended to be 50 feet wide, 15 feet tall. It's going to be built with the backstop being telephone poles, most of which I already have. They're on my property. At that point, once that is erected, we are going to front fill with a clay mixture, and that's going to be at the top of the backstop. It'll come out about 4 feet, and then it'll angle down like this to be 10 feet front to back, worth of clay. On top of that, we'll put a dirt layer on top of it to where we can grow grass and that kind of stuff. But the point behind the clay is that way I can test that area every so often to see if it needs to be taken out, recycled, so I'm not contaminating anything. Where it currently stands, right here in that very corner, in the handout that, I'm sorry, I can't pronounce my neighbor's last name, but anyway, that butts up to us, this property right here, they took pictures to show that what is currently there and that has been there from the previous owners, the Staffords, for who knows how many years, it's a mound of dirt about this tall, and there's trees all the way through it. My point is, that's not a safe backstop, and that's why we haven't shot there. We moved in mid-October of last year, and so far, twice is all I've shot on that property, or all that shooting's been done on that property, because we need to get a backstop put in. Once that backstop's put in, the class size of 6 would be able to go down and have a 50-foot wall, 15 feet tall area to shoot into, and we shoot in the training classes 22 caliber pistols that are owned by me, so that I know the safety of the gun, that it's reliable, and it's something that everybody can train on to get familiar, competent, and confident holding and shooting without it being too loud or too much kickback or anything like that. That's what that portion of it's about. We don't do anything extreme or really wild on these classes. It's to teach people the basics. My class on the USCCA site is listed as a basics firearms fundamentals course, shot with my 22 caliber pistols, and everybody is allowed to have one box of 50 rounds, should they choose to shoot during that course. The course is typically 8 hours, which consists of roughly 5 hours in the classroom, which would be in the barn, followed by a maximum of 3 hours out on the range. It usually doesn't last that long. Now, in a perfect world scenario, this would be something that I could do every week, which would be phenomenal. The reality is, since I started training, I've only had 5 or 6 classes. Usually 2 or 3 people, but the most I'll take is 6. And that's the best I can tell you. As far as the frequency, I don't have a class until I get enough people together who have shown interest that they want to take the class. Once that happens, I set up a date. The time is, usually between 9 and 10 o'clock we start. Again, it runs roughly 8 hours, 5 hours classroom, 3 hours on the range. That's what's allowed for that. The reality is, if you take 3 years and divide it between 5 or 6 classes, that's not real common, that's not real often. But the other thing I want to be able to do, because I am an FFL, and I am having my gun shop there to where I can buy and sell guns and help people find something that fits them. If somebody walks in and wants to try, I like that handgun, and it's a used handgun, I can go, okay, step out here with me. Here's 3 rounds on the house, shoot it. If you like that, I'll sell you that gun. If it's too much for you, if it doesn't fit your hand right, I want to have that option to be able to do that. That way I'm matching the person with a firearm that they want and not something they have to have. Just like when we were young, if you were given a car that you didn't really want or didn't choose, you might not take care of it as well. If you're given a gun that you don't like, doesn't fit well, is too powerful for you, you're not going to train with it, which defeats the purpose of being safe with the firearm. That's all I'm really wanting to try to do, is have the opportunity to have my class there to where I can do hands-on, take them down, get them comfortable with it, and that's the basics for basic firearms fundamental courses, is just that. I'm not trying to teach somebody how to be a SWAT team member. I'm not trying to teach somebody how to do, evasive maneuvers. That's not the purpose of it. But that's the basics of what I'm trying to do and why I'm trying to do it. To be able to help people who want to learn don't know where to go or don't know how to go about doing that. Most of my business comes from word of mouth, and I'm okay with that. I'm big enough to be able to help people, small enough not to be a nuisance, hopefully. And I can continue on about this all night long, but I'd rather take questions if you have any, board.
Thank you. Gentlemen, questions for the applicant?
Very technically, most people are going to be shooting to 22, but I could shoot anything the way you described it, from a 22 to a 10 millimeter, at least 3 shots. Is that what you're saying?
No, no, no. In my class, it's
Okay,
only,
no, you said that they wanted to buy it.
hold on, no, no, no. In my class, it's only 22s, period. Nothing else. If you're in my class, it's 22s. My gun shop is separate from my classes. The gun shop is there that if somebody walks in and says, hey, I like this, and if they've never shot it, or an example, if you were to come in and walk into my shop and see this handgun, regardless of the caliber, and it's a used handgun, and you're like, well, I've never seen one of those, or I've never had one, I'd like to know how that feels. Well, I'll pull it out and hand it to you, and you can check it out and see what it feels like. Well, if you're kind of on the fence and you said, you know, I'd like to shoot this, I'm like, okay, I'll give you 3 rounds. You got 3 rounds, you can walk down here, we'll let you shoot it, and then you can decide if you want it, great. If you don't want it, that's it, no harm and no foul. Now, that's not gonna happen every day either, because most people who go to a gun shop have an idea what they want. Most people who show up there come to a gun shop to see if that gun shop in particular carries what they're looking for. They're not there to just kind of browse around. It's not something they're gonna be able to just walk in there and go, ooh, I like that Barrett 50 cal. No, I'm sorry, you're not shooting that, because particularly if it's brand new, if it's a brand new gun, I can't let somebody fire it to test fire it because it's no longer brand new. Does that make sense?
Partially, but they can still shoot. If you've got that gun there and they like it, say I came in and I said, I like that 45, you'd give me 3 shots to shoot it?
If it's a used handgun, yes. Right now, my
It
collection.
doesn't matter what it is, I could. If you had it there, I could shoot it.
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
Gentlemen, other questions for the applicant at this point? Mr. Crone? No? Are you going to host any events, tournaments, contests?
The only thing like that has come up so far is we were in contact with Morgan County VA. When I went to apply for it, we got talking, and I told them about the area that I've got there. I've got quite a few acres, I've got a pond there, and they said that they might be interested in having me have events out there for the veterans. The events, and it was just discussed briefly, was somewhere where they could come out for a weekend and let some of the guys come out and maybe camp, have a bonfire, go fishing, and then talking about having a place, if I get things worked out, to where I've got an area that is big enough as a walk-in vault to be able to store the firearms of the veterans who maybe are in the hospital or not able to take care of their firearms safely, to be able to store it for them. And other than that, there is no other event or program that's even been discussed.
All right, shooting long guns at your range?
No, the whole point about it is for the class. It's just 22s. If anything other than a 22 is shot,
Okay,
it's my
I'm
personal.
going to stop you for a second.
Yes, sir.
So my question is to you, at what point would somebody shoot a long gun at your range?
If it was me or my family.
Okay, but no public?
No, it's
Shooting?
not. This is the whole thing about the range is you can't just drive up and say you want to come back and shoot. No, you're only going to be shooting.
What range will this pistol?
15 yards.
15
I'm sorry,
yards.
15 meters.
Is it 15 yards?
15 meters, 15 yards, yes, right in that area.
Okay, those were the questions I wrote down, including the one you just asked, Mr. Rumball. Gentlemen, any other questions? No? All right, thank you very much.
You're welcome. Thank you for your time.
Rita Collier.
Hi.
Hi.
I mean, my husband pretty much said everything that he needs.
Can
so-
you, folks, this goes for everybody. Start off giving us your name and address, so when we review the recording, we have a record of who's speaking. Thank you.
It's Rita Collier. Sorry, can you hear me? Yeah. I am Rita Collier. I am Dean's husband. I live at 5600, Dean's wife. I live at 5600 Herbemont Road in Martinsville.
Okay. Was there something you wanted to tell us this evening?
Look, I'm here in support, I guess, of my husband. I know this has been a big thing for him. It's a passion of his. You know, I've watched him sort of train people. A lot of those people that come to his classes mostly are women, that which I thought was really great. I have sat through some of those classes myself. I'm Australian, so I have never been around guns before, and the first time I saw them, it was like seeing a spider. I'd walk a mile away from it. So over the years now, I've come to a point where I'm very comfortable with them. I don't really I'm not crazy about them, but I am comfortable to carry on, defend myself or defend my family if I need to. I mean, he's given you all the information. I have gone through some of this information with him. I'm not involved in his business. I have my own job. But I would ask for you to please consider the fact that to him, this is more about helping other people. Dean is now retired, so this is his main passion and what he wants to do with it. So, and, you know, I hope it's sort of approved tonight.
Thank you. Anything else you'd like to tell us?
No, not unless you have questions for me.
Okay. Gentlemen, questions? No. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Jim Graham?
Good evening. My name's James Graham, 8460 North Hall Road, Monrovia, Indiana, 46157. I met Dean. I worked at Guns and Ordnance out in, well, it's Martinsville, but it's real close to Hall. And I worked there for numerous years. I met Dean coming in and out. He gave me the information about him being an instructor. We had instructors, one over on Camp Brian Road. His name was Louis. I can't remember his last name. He moved away. And then I had John Hall down on 142. He had an NRA sanctioned facility down there, first class. And then he passed away. You folks probably know who he is. But he's trying to bring something in to make a little money and also have a service for the public. Keep people from maybe getting hurt because they're not toys. And if you're trained correctly, you'll be all right. But if you're not, there's a chance of getting hurt. Each and every one of you know that. So that's about all I got to say for it. Thank you very much.
Gentlemen, any questions? Mr. Graham, how close do you live to this?
It's quite a ways away. I live right in Hall.
Okay. All right. So is that several miles away then?
Yeah, it's quite a few miles.
Okay. All right.
It's just that, like he said, that he was going to use 22s. If the laws change, that the way things are working with this administration, you know, suppressors might be available very commonly. And if they become common, they'll be cheaper and he might be able to use them, so you won't hear nothing. But I mean, he's a class 1 dealer. He's not going to have machine guns or destructive devices or any NFA type products.
All right. Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
All right. That's everybody I had signed up in support of. Now I'm going to the in opposition list, and I have Mike? I'm sorry?
Can I interrupt for just a moment?
Well, it depends on what you're wanting to interrupt me for, sir.
Okay. We signed up on a form. We were told it was an opposition paper, but it was not, there's more people that signed up. But we ended up having to sign up on the opposition form because there was no other form for us to sign.
Well, I have one in front of me, and matter of fact, I've got it right here in my hand. I've got 3 names signed up, and I've got 10 empty spaces on there. Is there, did you sign up on the opposition side?
That was what they told us to use.
All right, what is your name?
My name is Gregory North.
Gregory North. All right. Mike, I'm going to ask you to hold tight there for a minute, and let's get Mr. North up here. Who else signed up in support of that I didn't call up here yet? Raise your hand. You did? What was your name? All right, so you're gonna pass speaking? Yes, sir. All right, and then Tanya, are you gonna speak, or are you passing, or? I can for a moment. I'm sorry, I can't hear you. I will for a moment. Okay, then we're gonna go ahead and get Mr. North, since he's up here, to go ahead and give us his name and address and explain to us what you want to say.
Thank you, Board. My name is Gregory North. I live at 440 East Columbus Street here in Martinsville. And I wanted to speak about gun safety in regards to Dean Collier's plan for a training range. As you all are aware, everyone is concerned about background checks for people who can purchase a firearm. And being able to pass a background check doesn't qualify you to technically operate that firearm safely. Because you have a gun and you can purchase bullets, that doesn't make you responsible. And one of the things that's difficult to do is to find a good range with proper supervision to get that training so that you can feel competent and know when to use your firearm and when to retreat and those type of things. So I just wanted to come out and tell the board that these are the things that Dean teaches, and that's the value he will bring to his students and the county. And that's all I have to say.
All right, thank you, sir. Any questions from the board? No? Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Christopher Crow has passed. Then I have Tanya Crow.
Good evening. My name is Tanya Crow. We live at 4592 South US Highway 231 in Greencastle. The reason that I'm even going to say anything this evening is because Dean and I grew up in Monrovia. Dean and I have been pretty much lifelong friends. He taught me how to shoot. He's taught our kids how to shoot. He's a very responsible person. He actually took me, before he was licensed when I was younger, he took me to buy my first gun and showed me the differences in how they feel in your hand and why that was important. He's a very responsible person, teacher, who I feel like he wouldn't do anything to put anyone else in danger, and is always very cautious about how he would think things through to do them as far as the setup of things. I just wanted to give my support to him and his wife this evening, so that's all I have.
Thank you, gentlemen. Any questions? No? Thank you very much. All right, Mike. Yeah.
Good evening, board members. I represent two landowners that live close by to the Collier property, James and Crystal Cecil. They live at 7208 Berean Road, and Michael and Carrie Sichello at 5664 Herbemont Road. And I'm a local attorney here on the square. This is the Collier's property. The Sichellos are the property that's immediately in this. I think the backstop is supposed to be put up here, and their property runs all the way to over here. There are probably, I think you said 13 or 14 other people that are here that are opposed to this special exception to operate this facility at this location. The Henshaw property, which is even north of Sichello's, the Henshaw's own property up here where they run cattle. The Russell's own property here, and the Henshaws pay cash, and so they have cattle that runs along this area in here. And I think if you look at some of the photos that I sent, I think you can see some of the cattle up in this field up in this area here that was right past the Sichello's fence. The staff report in your binder recommends this board not approve the petition because the petitioner cannot adequately satisfy 3 required findings of fact. The finding of fact number 1 asks if the establishment or operation of the use will be detrimental or endanger the public health, safety, or general welfare. Finding fact number 2 asks if the requested use will be injurious to the use and enjoyment of the property in the area. And finding of fact 3 asks if the use is approved, will it alter the normal development of the surrounding property in the area? Information that was in the binders that I provided to the board, I believe, shows that the Sichello's concerns and the Cecil's concerns support a negative finding on those 3 factors, 1, 2, and 3. As I said, the orientation of the range places it perpendicular to the Sichello's property, and it generates serious safety concerns for them and for people that might use their property. They've owned the property for over 20 years. They have a fear that errant bullets could veer off. Even this is a 50-foot wide backstop, it could veer off into their property. And their fear of bullets flying is legitimized by the fatal shooting that occurred at Whispering Court, where a defendant who was a local gunsmith was working on and testing a gun. The gun misfired and caused the death of an individual who was sleeping in his own home. And that event took place 3.4 miles from the Sichello's property, and the distance between the home where the person was shot and killed and the gunsmith was 1,000 feet. The Sichello's had horses on their property until recently, and they may very well, again, want to have horses which would roam in the back part of their property where the backstop would be. Also, behind where the backstop is located, they have plans to install a small playground for their grandchild, which would include walking paths and gardens, and it certainly would not be prudent for anyone to walk behind a backstop. I certainly wouldn't do that. It's certainly going to affect their ability to safely and comfortably use all of their property, which they've owned for 20 years. Whereas the Colliers did just purchase the property, apparently didn't buy it contingent upon getting the special exception. So to allow this range to be installed, especially where the backstop is located close to the fence line between these 2 properties, would force them to abandon the ability to utilize a significant portion of their property. And it would reduce its value to them and any future buyers of the property. There's also a stream that runs in the back of their property, and when I say in back where the backstop is, close to the where the Henshaw is cash renting from Russell's, and they have a stream that runs through there, and they're concerned about possible lead poisoning from bullets that could veer off and not hit the backstop and end up in their property, or end up in the fields north where Henshaw has cattle roaming. I took those photographs that you see in the binder, and when we were out there, we shot a gun in the ground. And you see, I think the first picture in the photos is Carrie Sichello sitting on her deck. And so she was several hundred yards away from where a single shot was fired into the ground, and she recorded that, and it was very loud. You could hear it loudly. Perhaps as important as at the same time, Mr. Cecil and his wife were on their property, and their front yard, as the crow flies, from where we shot, which is close to where the backstop is, but we were on the Sichello property, is approximately 2,600 feet. And you could hear that gunshot all the way to their property. They also have 7 horses that run the fields that are within 1,600 feet of where this gun range would be. Mr. Cecil has owned his property for 30 years. In addition to the 7 horses, they train horses on their property, and they plan to board up to 12 horses on the property. The binder contained a lot of information regarding noise stress in horses, and there's also articles and studies that talk about the stress caused by noise in other livestock, such as cattle and hogs. If you read the study on horses, their hearing is almost twice as good as humans, and they perceive loud noises as potential dangers. And when it's windy, horses can pick up noise even more than normal. And they cannot determine exactly where the noise is, so you have a startling effect in horses. If people are riding on Mr. Cecil's property, and there may be other property owners that have horses, you can have a child that's thrown off a horse from a startled gunshot. The study that I gave you concluded that noise anxiety is a behavioral problem that can lead to consequences for the welfare of horses. So you've got people that have cattle, you have people that have horses in the nearby neighborhood that could very easily be affected, and the studies suggest strongly that they would be affected by the noise from the guns being fired on this property. Also in the binder, there was a statement from a RE/MAX senior partner that indicated that his research in the area reflected that there'd be a 3 to 5% potential loss in property values by having a firing range in this specific neighborhood. All of this information provides support regarding finding of fact 2 that the requested use will be injurious to the use and enjoyment of other properties in the area, because the people that have lived there have animals, aside from the human safety factors, could very well be impacted by the guns that are being fired, whether they be a .22, and we all know that .22s have a long range. I think they can go as far as a mile. If someone wants to shoot a .45, a used gun, who's to say that they have any training whatsoever? I certainly wouldn't walk behind a backstop, and I would think that it should be clear that the value of the Sichello's property, if they can't use the back third because they have fear of errant bullets flying in that area, then they certainly have a loss of the value of the use of their land. And with the number of acres that they have, they've thought about building a second home back there for their 2 older daughters. And they certainly would not want to have a home where there's a firing range in that area. So I believe that the information contained in the binder, and as I've recited here, reflects that finding of fact 1 is not in favor of the petitioner. Finding of fact 2 and finding of fact 3 are also not in favor of the petitioner. And the ordinance requires that all 5 of the factors that are set forth in the ordinance have to have a positive finding. And we're asking that this board find, consistent with the staff recommendations, against this special exception for those reasons and the reasons that she stated in the staff report, that this board deny this request. And I'm available, and the Cecils are here, as well as the Sichellos, if you have any additional information that you would like to have from them directly.
Thank you. Gentlemen, any questions? I have none. I have just a couple. I see, you say you're representing the Cecils?
Yes, they live on Berean Road.
James and Judy?
James and Crystal.
James and Judy on this list, but I don't, in the binder that you prepared for us.
Is it Jude or is it Crystal? It's Crystal, isn't it? Yeah.
Okay. 7110. All right, let me find this here. All right, and the other family you're representing,
Sacellos?
can you spell that?
It's S-Y-C-Z-Y-L-O.
Okay. And can you go back to the, with your pointer there, and it, again, I apologize, is it Kasinik? Is that how I'm pronouncing your name? All right. Show me the families that you represent, where their properties are again. Okay. Okay. Okay, I'm going to bring you back over to the microphone if I could, please. And you said that one of the families has lived there that you represent as Cecil's have been there 37 years?
I think 30 years. Yes.
And the
Sacello's been there 20 years.
20 years for the other family?
Yes.
All right, thank you. Gentlemen, any questions for Mr. Kasinik?
One thing I got a question is that I know the Henshaw family, they've lived there for, great-granddad's lived there forever.
And I don't know if they have anything else besides cattle, but you can see cattle on their property.
Pardon?
I said, I don't know if they have any other livestock out there, but you do see cattle on their property.
A lot of cattle there. I just seen them there 2 days.
Don't speak from the audience, please. All right. Sorry about that, Mr. Crone. Anything else you'd like to ask?
Not at this point anyway.
All right. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
All right, next person I have signed up to speak, can't read your name. I'm guessing maybe Delbert Green? Is that right? Yes. You write as poorly as I do, Mr. Green, when you sign your name.
Well, I thought I was being electrocuted. My name's Delbert Green, 5475 Herbie-Mont Road, and I've lived there 45 years. I've had 2 families that I've raised. My concern is I have 4 grandchildren that lives right behind me. And with the traffic that's occurring on Herbie-Mont, you can hardly get on safely now. And his driveway is a hidden drive. And there's another hidden drive on top of the hill. So you got to watch that. And my concern is if my grandchildren are out playing, and you know, stray bullets are stray bullets. You know, some of them can't be controlled, you know, a ricochet or whatever. And that's one of my big concerns is my grandbabies. I want them to be safe. I've kept them safe for all these years out there, and I hope to keep them safe now. And it's just not as comfortable as what it used to be. When I moved out there, there was very few houses there at all. And now there's probably 6 or 8 on that road. So that's my concern. And I thank you very much for listening.
All right, thank you. Hang on just a second. See that little laser pointer up there?
Pardon me?
See that little laser pointer laying on the podium there? There's a little laser pointer laying there. I don't know how to operate the thing. They don't let me do
So
it.
that makes 2 of us. I live right across from Dean's property.
All right.
on Herbie Mont. It's
Okay.
just about maybe 250 feet from his property to my property. So,
We're going to find you here in a second.
there's a one-lane bridge right at the end of my driveway,
Okay.
the county bridge.
All right. Thank you very much. Sir, gentlemen, any questions? No? Thank you very much. Shannon Green.
Hello, my name is Shannon Green. I live at 5475 Herbie Mont Road. Live right across the road. I'm married to Delbert. And our grandchildren are right beside us, behind us. They live on the same property. We got 4 grandchildren that live back there. Their play area is in their front yard. So what concerns us is the bullets coming across the road or what have you. Or why if somebody's, gets the shooting and everything coming down the road. That puts our grandchildren in danger. And there's other grandchildren that live out there, that's out there a lot too. So the kids is what we're really concerned about besides the animals. That's farmland out there. So that's putting all the animals in danger as well as the children. It's not even going to be safe to even be out in your front yard mowing or what have you, not considering the noise that there will be. We like to go out and sit on the porch. Who wants to listen to that every day, in the evenings or on Saturdays? You can't. You're not going to be able to enjoy having your windows open with the noise and everything. And not considering, it's scaring dogs. Your dogs are going to be barking and carrying on because that hurts their ears. And that's what concerns me too, is the animals.
Thank you. Gentlemen, any questions for Ms. Green?
Thank you.
No? Thank you. Bruce Carlisle? Thank you. Paul Cecil? Thank you. All right, Michael, I can't pronounce your last name. Did you want to speak?
Yes.
Come on up and say your name again, how you pronounce that, so I won't butcher it.
My name is
anymore.
Michael Cicello. I live at 5664 Herbie Mont Road. I own the property adjacent to the Colliers. Mike did a very good job detailing our concerns. I just want to reiterate those concerns that the potential safety issues with the range, the potential environmental impact, the potential mental and emotional issues that it may cause, stress levels, and the property value. We're new grandparents. We have property that we want to utilize so our kids and our grandchildren can enjoy. And as it stands, if this goes through, we're not going to be able to do that. We have had horses in the past. We don't now, but we want to have the option of having animals roam the back half of our property. And again, that may not be something that we're going to be able to do due to the potential issues with safety issues with the range, environmental impacts, and other stresses that it may cause.
Anything else you'd like to tell us?
No, sir.
No? Gentlemen, any questions? No? How long have you lived there?
20 plus years.
I'm sorry?
20 plus years.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Carrie?
Hello, good evening. I am Carrie Sochello, and I live at 5664 Herbie Mott Road. And Michael is my husband. We have lived there for over 20 years. I have an exuberant amount of concerns, and I could spend a lot of time talking about it, but I'll try to keep it brief. The biggest concern, and as we talk about things being legitimized, the incident that occurred with the same scenario, the gunsmith who was testing a gun for a Plainville police officer, and a 34-year-old gentleman was killed in his bed, asleep, by a stray bullet, and this gunsmith was found guilty. And I hear people talking about their children, our grandchildren. I care about my life too, and I care about my husband's life, and I care about the lives of the people that live in my community. And to hear gunfire 6 days a week is very unsettling. We have lived in Morgan County for 20-some years. We are small business owners in Morgan County, and we do so because we find peace and tranquility by living in Morgan County. And this gun range that is potentially going to be passed will destroy our peace and tranquility. And that is not fair to us as homeowners and property owners and taxpayers for the county of Morgan County and as business owners. I also would like to maybe put our chickens in the back because we need to start raising eggs for our farm-to-table restaurant that we have in Monrovia. We can't use the back portion of our property if this comes about, because I'll be standing looking out my kitchen window wondering which gun blast might hit me through my kitchen window because we're less than 1,000 feet from that. I mean, this would destroy our peace, and I implore you to say no to this. That's all I have.
Gentlemen, any questions? All right, James Cecil.
Yeah, I'm James R. Cecil II, 7208 Marine Road. Mike had mentioned I've been there 30-plus years. My property actually adjoins to my parents' property, so I was born and raised there. I've actually lived there 60 years, if you want to count the time on the farm. So my concerns, one is, which I just read, is seeing this decibel reading pamphlet they've just given us, where it says that all these effects are going to be mitigated by the wood, dense woods. It says dense wood. It says it depends on how dense the wood is. If you can see that line to the east, that wood line is only 30 feet wide. There's no tree line. There's no dense woods at all. That sound's gonna go right through that little tree line there. Going down, I can use a pointer here. How you turn this thing on? Let's see. Oh, I got it. Yeah, that tree line there, that's only 30 feet wide. That's not a dense woods. That is not enough to protect any sound. The other thing you gotta take into consideration, this range is at higher elevation than this. So I'm up on the hill right over here. This is, right here is where our horses are at. Oh, I'm sorry, right. If you could make that bigger there. Yeah, I'm on down. I'm on up here this way here. Yeah, there it is. This is my property all right here. And my horses are right here. I got 7 horses. So I don't know if I need to go into all the health effects of horses due to noise stress, but horses stress about a lot of things, and noise is very bad for them. We've actually had a friend of ours that was on a young horse, got spooked by a noise, threw him off into a pole in the barn, broke his back. So I got, you know, our youngest is 10. We don't need him on a horse getting thrown. And they trail ride right down there by the road, right close to where that range is going to be. That's 1,600 feet from there. This is the NRA suggested. It's the manual for guidelines for range designs, which maybe highlights were in that binder. And it says on here, when planning a new range, consider population density and public sensitivity around the proposed range before determining location and orientation. Population density, this is rural Morgan County, but you can't say that This is not dense. When you have, I identified 29 homes within a 1 mile range, which is within earshot of guns. And out of them 24, where you accept the signatures or not of petitions against this, we had talked to 24 homeowners. The others we could not get hold of. There was nobody in favor of this range.
Excuse me, but you're out of time.
Oh, I'm
Thank
sorry.
you. Hold on just a second, though. Gentlemen, any questions for the applicant? Or, I'm sorry, for Mr. Cecil?
You live north of Bernard Road and south of it, property?
Let's see. Can you make it a little bigger? It's right there. That property right there.
Okay.
And this is the parents' property back here. All this here is this is all our property right here.
Okay, thank you, sir.
Other questions, gentlemen? No? Thank you. Thank you, sir. Robin Jones. You can pass. I'm sorry? Nope. But please don't be redundant, or I'll have to stop you.
My name's Robin Jones. I live at 5535 Herbie-Mont Road. I'm directly across the street from where this proposed range is going to be, right there, where the arrow is, yes. We have grandchildren also. We've lived out there 25 years plus, raised our family there. And I do I know it's redundant, but I wish to say that I also am concerned about the noise, the safety, and my property values. We're about to be retired and be home all the time with the kids, and we do stand opposed to this, and I just wanted to state that.
Thank you. How long have you lived there?
25 years.
25 years. Gentlemen, any other questions? No? Thank you very much. Brett Jones? Thank you. Julie Morton?
Hello, my name is Julie Morton. I live at 6781 Berrien Road. My husband and I will live about half a mile as the crow flies southeast of the property. And it may be a little redundant, but on a personal note, mostly, maybe it will give a little bit different perspective. We moved here 3 years ago. We came up from Monroe County expressly to have our horses at home. And we came here, I raised my kids when they were little here for about 10, 15 years. We lived in Morgan County on the south side. So we knew it was peaceful, quiet, and that's why we came here, to bring our horses here. A shooting range in an agricultural zone is about as far from that as I can conceive of. It seems like a zoning change would consider maybe compatibility, like training horses, riding horses, training other animals, maybe having a farm, produce shop, something like that, that's compatible with the residents that already live in this area. But not a firearms training. 3 hours, 6 days of disruption. Whether or not the business is needed or good for the community is irrelevant. It's about disruption, noise, and safety that everybody else has been talking about. Mr. Collier says this and that may not happen up to the highest level that it can, that he has maybe fewer students, et cetera, but once it's allowed, then he can go to that level. So that level may very well happen, and it can be any number of people that are coming in trying out other guns to buy, so that's also gonna increase. So once it's improved, that's gonna be in place. So whether or not it's at that level now is also irrelevant in my opinion. In my personal research, noise levels above 60 decibels can be heard up to 2 miles away. I've also looked at that 22s can be around 160 decibels. We live a half a mile away and we hear gunshots in the area sometimes from hunting, which is gonna go on. We knew that when we moved here. We personally have 4 horses. We have about 60 acres. A lot of it is wooded and we have put a lot of money into putting trails back on those. Just a few weeks ago, I was hand walking one of my horses back there, and somewhere in the area, there was gunshots going on, and I had a difficult time getting that horse back to the barn safely. You can only train them so much around gunshots, and it's gonna cause disruption, it's gonna cause distress, it could cause disease and colic in horses for that amount of stress. So it's absolutely true that they become startled and actually oftentimes unsafe during gunshots. And in my opinion, if this is considered, then it is in the consideration for the convenience of one person to have a business versus many people that will not only be inconvenienced, but their lives will be disrupted. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Gentlemen, any questions? No? Thank you. And lastly, David Nelson. Thank you very much. We'll give the applicant. Could I speak? I got here too late to sign the paper. Yeah, I'm sorry, but no. Well, I live on Harvey. Okay, sir, I'm sorry, but no. So I'm going to call the applicant back up and give the applicant 10 minutes max time to address the board.
Thank you, members of the board. Do I need to state my name and everything again?
If you would, for the record, we
My name is
appreciate
Dean
that.
Collier. I live at 5600 Herbie Mont Road, Martinsville, Indiana, 46151. I'd like to address a few of the points that were made here. And again, they're all good points, I guess, because it's everybody's different opinion. I would like to point out, though, that the only people who came and talked to me and asked me anything about this, about what I was doing, or introduced themselves at all, was Roger Russell and Mr. Bruce Carlisle. Nobody else came to talk to me. Nobody introduced themselves. When my wife and I moved in, I had no idea where people stood with anything, and I'm not doing anything with malicious intent. I'm just trying to make a service. I'd also like to point out that a lot of people are talking about the detriment to the animals, potential detriment to the animals, the stress and then the sound and the nervousness of the horses and everything. I was born and raised on a farm. I'm familiar with just about everything that's an animal on a farm that's not llamas or alpacas, which the previous owners had. I will say that Mr. Russell came to me twice and said he had spoke to Mr. Henshaw, and neither one of them had a problem with what I was doing. Now, that means the gentleman who owns cattle, Mr. Henshaw, who owns cattle, and that will be going the north side and the east and the south side of my property, has no issue with what I'm doing because of doing it in a safe manner. They're apparently not concerned or worried that my shooting will disturb their cattle. And I think that's actually kind of important. If the people who are going to have animals closest to us aren't here and don't have an issue with it, that says a lot, I think. The second thing I'd like to address is, I apologize. I mean no disrespect at all to my, I'm sorry, my neighbors. I can't pronounce your last name.
Sir, I'll ask you to address the board only,
But I was
please.
going to try to say them by name. Anyway, this couple here, I understand they've been there 20 years, and that's great. I'm happy for them. I can just say that if you've been there 20 years and the previous owners there were there for 30 years and they were shooting into a dirt mound with steel sticking out of it for 30 years plus, and they didn't have any kind of problem with it and be worried about their kids or their animals or whatever. And I'm telling you that I'm trying to put in a professional, legitimate backstop to mitigate ricochet. You're not going to have ricochet with clay, extremely rare. I can't say it won't happen, but I'm doing everything I can to eliminate those kind of issues. But they didn't have a problem with the previous owners shooting into steel plates and trees, I just find that difficult to swallow. Mr. Cecil made a comment about the horse riding. Again, it's funny that the people who live around who have an issue with the firearm range on this side that live down here, I wish I would have been able to get my phone to get the stuff. Since we moved in, there have been several times that directly to the east of us in that area is just lit up with people shooting large caliber something. And I've had to explain to people, no, it's not tannerite, because you can't have something that loud of a report at that distance with like a 3-second delay. That leads me to believe it's bolt action. But it literally startled my dogs. But they're not having a problem with it being that close to their horses when it's that happening. I feel that's a double standard. Again, I can't tell you what caliber was being shot, and I wish I could have got it on film, but it was much more violent and aggressive than a .22. Safety for the grandchildren. Dell Green made comment, well, actually, several people made comment about that, but Dell got up there first. I could not agree more. Safety is absolutely paramount. I would not injure a child for anything in the world. Very, very important. At the same time, that's why I'm going to the extremes that I am, with the backstop I am, trying to do what I can to teach people to be safe. I cannot guarantee the world's safety, or I would, but if you're talking about, well, the possibility of a bullet ricocheting going through all those trees, even though the gentleman said it was only 30 foot, depending on where you're at, it's a couple hundred yards of forest, of woods to get through. All I can do is say, you know, I'm sorry that you feel that way, but the child could be just as injured from falling off the front steps. Maybe not as damaged as by a bullet, and I understand that, but I can't mitigate everything. All I can do is the best I can do with what I've got. I don't have it down. I'm assuming it was Shannon Green made the comment about errant rounds and noise. Again, I understand the concern about that. It just seems like a double standard with all the shooting that has happened in the short time that I've been there that was either north of me or directly east of me. There was several weekends of people shooting, and nobody had a problem with that. Again, the previous owners, you could go back there and see on the land where they shot for who knows how many years, and nobody had a problem with that. I'm trying to put in a proper backstop and do it safe, and you know, I understand their concerns. I just don't think they're rational or justified. As far as the decibels on all this stuff, actually the handout that was sent to you, I don't have the pointy thingy, but the point of where the range is intended to be to the gentleman down here, and I believe it was Mr. Cecil, I think, that had the horses down here just on the south side of Mr. Green. From that distance, from that point to that point, was the 1,704 yards that I used for that. At 1,704 yards, the 22 decibel range goes down to roughly 88. 88 decibels is in the area of a normal conversation. Now, that doesn't mean that you're not going to know what happened, but it's going to be the difference between hearing a finger snap and going, oh, somebody's shooting over there, and it rattling your windows. They're not comparable. And again, they're worried about the sounds of these things, but not when they're shooting either at their property or close to it. Yes, sir.
You're out of time, sir.
Members of the board, thank you very much for your time and your consideration tonight.
Thank you. Gentlemen, any questions for the applicant? Anyone, gentlemen? No? No? Thank you, sir. All right, folks, so we've heard from everybody who signed up to speak. We gave everyone an opportunity to speak. Some did pass. So at this point, we're not taking any more testimony from the public. Now, when the board has discussion, we may ask questions. Typically, it's of the applicant, but it could be others that did speak previously. But again, that point has passed for the purpose of our hearing of this particular application this evening. So, for this application, the applicant has to meet 6 findings of facts in order for the board to grant this. If we don't agree that he made 6 findings of facts, then there may be further discussion on that, but that's what we're here for. The first finding of fact is the establishment, maintenance, or operation of the special exception will not be detrimental to or endanger the public health, safety, morals, and general welfare, and the applicant indicates that's a true statement. To support that, he has written, "My business primarily provides firearm safety classes on a small and personal level. The proposed business operates 6 days a week, Monday to Saturday, between the hours of 9 and 6 p.m. Class sizes will not exceed 6 trainees, and there's always myself and 1 additional range safety officer present. Classes are primarily around 8 hours, of which 5 hours are classroom material and around 2 to 3 hours of range practical skill building." Number 2, the statement is, "The special exception will not be injurious to the use and enjoyment of other property in the immediate vicinity for the purposes already permitted." The applicant indicates that's a true statement, and in support of that has written, "Due to the small size of classes and the limit on the participants at the range, the noise levels are minimized. A backstop will be erected to ensure the safety of all neighbors surrounding the property and strategically be placed on the property as far away from all structures surrounding the property." And then he refers to Exhibit 1, placement of the backstop. Under Section 2.3, the statement is, "The establishment of the special exception will not impede or substantially alter the normal and orderly development and improvement of the surrounding property for uses permitted in the district." The applicant indicates that's a true statement. To support that, he has written, "The property is surrounded by trees and cornfields on the side where the backstop will be built. This will ensure that the structure is not visible from any of the neighboring properties except maybe in winter. This will occupy a very small part of our property, with the rest still dedicated to being our family homestead." Section 2.4 makes a statement that adequate utilities, road access, drainage, and other necessary facilities have been or are being provided. The applicant also indicates that's a true statement. And to support that, he has written, "Classroom time will be held in the pole barn," in quotations, "Exhibit 2-pole barn location," end quotes. And there are current facilities, including a small kitchen and bathroom dedicated to the business. There is plenty of parking space within the property. Under Section 2.5, the statement is, "Adequate measures have been or will be taken to provide ingress and egress so designed as to minimize traffic congestion on the public roadways." The applicant indicates that's a true statement. And to support that, has written, "The property is accessed via a lane from Herbmont Road with ample space to turn around if needed." Exhibit 3, map showing the lane and photos of the entrance to the property. And lastly, under Section 2.6, the statement is, "The special exception will be located in a district where such use is permitted, and all other requirements set forth in this UDO that are applicable to such use will be met." Again, the applicant indicates that's a true statement. To support that, he has written, we confirm that the special exception will be located in a district where such use is permitted, and all other requirements set forth in this UDO that are applicable to such use will be met. For the technical reports, the Health Department states that the Indiana Department of Health Commercial Division will need to be contacted to determine the requirements for the septic system for the proposed training facility. The county surveyor reviewed and made no comment. Staff's recommendation on this is that they state that because the petitioner cannot adequately satisfy findings of facts 1, 2, and 3 as described above, staff does not recommend approval of this special exception request. So gentlemen, we are open for discussion on this application.
I've got a couple things. I've got livestock, still have horses, had cattle, had sheep, had things like that. I'm not too worried about that. I shoot a gun periodically before hunting season. I've got muzzle loaders, I've got high-powered rifles, I've got pistols. Don't shoot them very often, though. Number one, I probably can't afford it. Got a son out in Ashland Township that shoots same thing. And I expect to hear gunshots in the area. It's something that I think most Morgan County people do is a significant amount, in my opinion, have a firearm. I don't want to hear it 6 days a week. I sure as a dickens don't want to hear it 6 days a week. And one of the most disturbing things here that is in finding of fact number 2, it can be expected that those living adjacent or in close proximity will have to endure the negative consequences if this use is approved. That kills it right there. You've got to get all 6 of these right. He's already said, you've got to live with what I'm doing. I don't find this that I can vote for.
Thank you, Mr. Rumbaugh. Gentlemen, other discussion on this application? I'll give my piece then. Again, the board, it doesn't matter if we're in favor of guns, not in favor of guns. I'm an ex-cop. I shoot guns on my property. That's not the issue. The issue is, does the applicant meet 6 findings of facts? Mr. Kosenik, I can't pronounce your name. I hope I didn't butcher that again. Did a very nice job representing his clients and preparing a binder explaining their concerns. Everyone that spoke did a very nice job. Julie Morton made the comment that the need is irrelevant. And that is the case on this in my mind. It's whether or not the applicant meets the findings of facts. Doesn't matter what John Chapello personally thinks. I'm representing everybody in the county, including the applicant, when I vote. But to meet our regulations, we have to agree that the applicant has met certain findings of facts, in this case 6 of those. And I agree with staff's recommendation that they don't meet those findings of facts for number 1, number 2, or number 3. And then just to support that, and my decision on this is that by my math, I've got 186 years of people that have lived in the neighborhood that say no. And to me, that is a clear indication that those that surround the property think that it will be detrimental to or endanger the public health, safety, morals, or general welfare, that the special exception would be injurious to the use and enjoyment of other property in the immediate vicinity, and that the establishment of the special exception would impede or substantially alter the normal and orderly development and improvement of surrounding property for use as permitted in the district. So if a motion's made to approve this, I wouldn't support that. If a motion is made to deny, then I would. Other discussion, gentlemen?
Biggest part of it is safety and the livestock around it. I would say, no, I wouldn't support it.
Any other discussion, gentlemen? No? Open for a motion.
I would move that we deny SE-25-01 based on the finding of facts and the testimony presented.
Are you basing that, Mr. Rumball, question for your motion on that the findings of facts have not been made?
They have not been made, and particularly, in fact, that number 2, it can be expected that those living adjacent to or in proximity will have to endure the negative consequences if this use is approved. And that is, ask if the use is approved will be injurious to the use and enjoyment of other property in the area. And then he basically says, they're going to have to live with what I do. No, I cannot support this.
All right, so you're making a motion
To
deny.
disapprove based on the finding of facts, not meeting 3 of the 6 finding of facts.
Thank you. Do I have a second to that motion? Mr. Crone seconds. Again, we're voting right now on the motion to deny. All in favor of the motion to deny, please raise your right hand and say aye. Aye. It is unanimously denied, sir. Thank you all very much. We've got more business to conduct. You're welcome to stay, but if you do choose to stay or leave, we ask that you do so quietly. Thank you. Mr. Peden, do we have a BZA attorney's report this evening? We do not. Thank you. Sir, we're still conducting our business. We've heard yours. We've made our motion. You can ask it after the meeting. Thank you very much. Ms. Parker, do we have a plan director's report this evening? All right. Thank you, gentlemen. Any other business to be conducted by the board this evening?
Move we adjourn.
That meeting's gonna be in April, you said? You know the date on that yet?
April 28th.
Oh, 28th, okay. It's a BZA meeting? Okay. I didn't know if there's another meeting before that one. Okay, thank you.
All right, opening for a motion to adjourn.
I make a motion.
Second? Thank you. All in favor, raise your right hand, say aye. Aye. We are adjourned. Thank you all very much for your work this evening.